In Term 4 last year, I implemented a digital and collaborative innovation in my class of Year 7 and 8 students to promote, develop and teach the 21st century skills of real-world problem solving and innovation through 3D design and printing. I addressed these skills as in our school we had technology that was being underutilised and students who were not developing the knowledge, skills and values they need to thrive in today's modern society. I wanted to ensure that I was providing learning experiences using technologies to develop and build creative, innovative minds that can adapt to face future, unpredictable challenges in our ever-evolving world.
Probably the jobs, like all the jobs are going to be different when we get older, so we just got to learn how to problem solve, so then when a problem comes up, we know how to solve it.
And we've got to learn how to be in the 21st century, and whatever comes our way we can handle.
Nice. And what about innovation? Because we talked a little bit about what innovation was. Why do we need to be innovative? And has anyone got any ideas?
It's also because if we can't sort of because other people are using their imaginations to create new things, and we're basically creating our future, so we need to be innovative so we can actually create it. And
if no one had any innovative ideas, then we'd all be the same and it would be a really boring world.
As Jemison mentioned, some of the jobs that these students will be doing when they finish their education are unknown. The skills of real-world problem solving and innovation are fundamental for our growing leaders to formulate solutions. As technology advances at such a rapid rate, companies will need employees that can invent new technologies and new ways to use it. According to Lombardi, students say they are motivated by solving real-world problems. They often express a preference for doing rather than listening. I read an article in the New Zealand Herald where a principal from Aurora Primary School, Heath Chitterton, talked about how his school had prioritised investing in 3D technology. Chitterton stated, "Where 3D printing can sit in education is not as a novelty, but as a genuine learning context for people to live in. If children know the product they produced is going to be out there and used by people, they are always going to strive to do better because they see there is a reason for learning." With a 3D printer in our school that wasn't being used, I had spent Term 3 of last year thinking about how I would go about implementing it into my classroom program. In Week 2 at MindLab, I was introduced to the innovative teaching and learning research results of 21st century skills which are important for students to develop. We looked at the 6 rubrics of 21st century learning, each of which represented important skills for students. While looking at these, I realised the need to use the 3D design and printing technology in our school to address the development of real-world problem-solving skills and innovation with my students. I used the ITL rubrics to focus my planning and again to focus my assessment of the learning. In Term 4, through our context of sharing our planet for our inquiry, my Year 7 students were learning about the Syrian refugee crisis. After learning about the harrowing journey refugees have to go through to reach safety and discovering that 50% of refugees are children, a group of students in my class worked on their big question, how can I make a difference? These students developed a 3D modelling competition for the rest of the senior school. The learning task was to design a toy that could be 3D printed and sent to children in a refugee camp in Europe. The students worked on flyers to promote their competition, developed the judging criteria, and ran workshops at lunchtime to teach students who wished to enter their competition the basic skills on Tinkercad. At the end of the competition, we mass printed 50 toys, which we then packaged and sent to a contact through World Vision to pass on to refugee children. We held a whole school assembly where the students presented the winners of the competition with a printed larger size of their design. Because the students knew their product was going to be out there in the world, they strived to do better as they saw a reason for their learning. My students used the real-world problem-solving and innovation flowchart to self-assess their learning. In their reflection, they discussed how they believed they were at level 4 on this chart. The main requirement was problem-solving as they set about to make a difference for a refugee child. They investigated how it was a real-world problem at present as they learnt about the refugee crisis in Syria being the effect from the war. They also discussed how their competition created innovation as the toy needed to be designed so it was usable for a child between the ages of 4 and 10. The innovation had to have specific requirements so that it was easily reproduced to print a larger quantity. Through our reflection process, I was gathering data for my formative assessment. This data assisted me in making a decision about these students' key competencies of participating in learning and thinking. I was then able to formulate report comments for inquiry studies for these students based on the development of the key 21st century skills of real-world problem solving and innovation. But more importantly, this reflection process enabled these students to think critically and evaluate in order to create innovative solutions. In week 10 at MindLab, I used the DCL Lean Canvas to help briefly explain my innovation and critique it. I shared this with new acquaintances on the postgrad course and was able to get some effective feedback in order to help critique my innovation. As our inquiry thread came to a close towards the end of Term 4, more and more students in my class were asking to design and print using the 3D printer. Seeing the successful learning that took place, I was motivated to keep this going, so in the final weeks of Term 4, through our careers rotation, and with a smaller group of Year 8 students, I began to use an online tool called CityX Project. The design process that CityX Project uses is a 6-step method which has been adapted from the design thinking process of Stanford's D School. This design process has taught my students to understand a challenge and the people it affects. They generated solutions, made prototypes, and developed a product to solve a specific problem, all while really enjoying the learning. Through reflection and critiquing the processes involved in developing real-world problem-solving skills and innovation, I'm now at the stage of planning for 2016. As the 3D printer is now set up in the back room of my class, my goal is to ensure that deliberate teaching of 21st century skills through the use of this technology continues with my new cohort of students. As part of my own teaching as inquiry this year, my next goal is to explore how the 21st century skills of self-regulation and skilled communication can be taught, developed and enhanced through the use of available technologies in my classroom.
What we've made is a breathable splint instead of a cast that would be made out of 3D printer.
And I like how we can use our imaginations and be innovative and learn how we can use our ideas and actually make something of our own that's original.
It's also good to learn how to actually use innovation in general and just how to put out thinking to make something new.
Just cool because you wouldn't be able to do this normally in school.
I just made this new hat, but more than new hats, knowledge. Because I get to learn how to make new hats. And instead of just getting one new hat, I can get multiple new hats.